Go. No laughing.
Welcome to No Apology with Emilee and Chris, where we will be laughing louder, digging deeper, living larger. I say that every day.
Sometimes.
So, we'll be doing it once again today. Thank you so much for joining us after our short little 1 week hiatus that we took. Thank you for spending a little time with us.
It's always good when the hiatus is only a week.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes in broadcasting, when you get put out in hiatus,
they forget about you.
It's forever. You ain't coming back on the air, dude.
Take a vacation.
I thought that was us. And
Take some time off.
We always have that line like the old detective in the 1970s. We get out, and then they pull us right back in. Hey, we're bringing you truth to your world, honestly and authentically, and without apology. That's why it's No Apology with Emilee Danielson. It's companion radio. It's a variety talk show with a Christian worldview. And my name, I guess, gets tossed in there as well because I talk a lot, so it has to be. Yeah. So No Apology with Emilee and Chris. Mike Shaw is going to be in a little bit later, and he's going to not bump stuff like I just did. Mike Shaw is going to be in later. We're going to talk a little about AI, a little bit about Trump. We're also going to be doing Right On, Way Off. Rob Roozeboom from RiseMinistries.com, the RiseFest, coming to Sheldon, Iowa next weekend. I'm going to be one of the speakers in the seminar building. I'm excited about that. Yeah. Phil Wickham, Matthew West, and a whole lot of more folks are going to be there. It's going to be a great thing.
Fuller.
Oh, yeah, Ben Fuller as well. I might have to tell Rob that I don't know Ben Fuller. We've been out of the game.
You're going to let that cat out of the bag?
I am going to let the cat completely out of the bag.
Yeah, it's a little bit different for us now because being in the Christian music industry for so many years now, it's really interesting because it's like I'll hear a song that we're singing in church on Sunday morning, and it's like, I really like that song. That is such a good song. And then all of a sudden I hear it on the radio, and it's like, oh, that's on the radio.
Yeah. Well, one of the things people want to keep in mind is in 2014, Emilee and I started a Christian radio station that we had till 2018. And during that 4 years, we didn't play hardly any current music. It was all old school Newsboys, old school Jars of Clay, old school Toby Mac, DC Talk. Yeah, it was classic Christian rock. And believe it or not, there's enough number 1, number 2, number 3 hits out there that we had a 24-hour day station, and you'd never hear the same songs twice in an 8-hour period. That was a guarantee.
Yep.
You'd never hear the same song twice. And so we had a deep cut of old, deep Christian classics. So we just kind of completely got away from the Christian industry. Now, for King and Country, the boys, Joel and Luke, we know them from a previous life when they were little kids. When they were just Rebecca's little brothers. Remember that?
Like you were reincarnated or something.
So when King and Country came up
earlier in our life, many moons ago,
when King and Country came up, there was a personal connection. I wanted them to do well, so I have all the King and Country albums, but I don't know the ebbs and flows of K-Love and stuff anymore. I really don't.
Yeah.
So.
Do we need to?
Well,
I don't think so.
One of the things that happened to Emilee and I is that we happened to have a very popular morning show on June of 2009. Do you remember what happened in June of 2009 when we were on the air? When June rolled around that year, Emilee? Because it is my Salvaged by God deep dive.
All
today.
I know is now when June rolls around, I just get like this dark depression that settles in, and I'm actually starting to kind of figure out, okay, I got to fight this. And
it's June now. What's dark and depressing? Too much sunshine, not enough.
Pride Month has become
too much lemonade on the back porch. What's
a very prominent thing? Is that what you were referring to? Okay, it's become a very prominent thing, and I didn't think it would become as prominent as it has. Like, you can't even look at your favorite sporting team without them flying the flag, and it's really sad. Why are we celebrating this? So I get kind of bummed, actually. The last few years, when June rolls around, I literally have a dark about me
and
throughout
you
the
shouldn't
month.
Because the month is one of the greatest months on the calendar, weather-wise, and graduations have just happened, vacations are happening.
It's so in my face all the time. That's the problem. I think that's why I get sucked right back in.
And guess what happened in the NHL over the last 15 months?
What happened?
Last June, there was a bunch of players that just flat out revolted.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And they just said, we're not wearing any of that stuff. We're not wearing the rainbow jersey for warm-ups. We're not putting the rainbow tape on our sticks. We're not doing that.
Finally, the NFL said, okay, I guess we can't do that then.
Well, I was talking about the NHL.
Or that's what I meant. What did I say?
You said NFL.
Oh,
so
no, NHL.
Oh, no, hockey is for everybody again now. We're in the first part of June right now, and hockey is for everybody, but it's much more muted. It's much more, when was tempered
it not
down.
For everybody? That's what I want to know.
I know, but I'm just saying that's their slogan.
When were you stopping people at the door and asking them questions
in
about
1988,
their personal
In 1988, a lady named Lisa Miller wrote a book. And by the early 90s, it had become almost like a manual for how to get the LGBT oppressed people group in the forefront of minds. And how did you do that? Well, you first
money.
of all, you label them as an oppressed people group.
Yeah.
So my Salvaged by God deep dive today goes back to John 14, 1 through 3.
Okay.
Throughout the gay revolution, you have to let your hearts not be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me.
There you
in
go.
my
I
Father's
like that.
house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you that I go to prepare a place for you, ? And if I go, I will come again and take you to myself, that where you are, I am also. And the Salvaged by God deep dive is going to be revolving around those 3 verses for quite a while on this show, because I think that we need to take some time and we need to understand that we don't have to be mad. We don't have to be sad. That angst, that depression you have every June when they want to choke the rainbow flag down your throat is something that can be lifted when you don't have your heart be troubled.
I'm open for that.
It all comes down to this. We've got to understand that, and now hold on to your hats, okay? I'm going to say it, and then I'll go back and explain it, okay?
All right.
We have become a nation that is a religion of a sex cult.
Yes, I would agree with that. That is right on.
Our nation now worships as a sex cult, as a nation, all the way down to kindergarten.
Yeah.
Kindergarten, first graders, second graders, they got to have their rainbow stuff out in June.
Exactly.
And basically what happened is that people didn't say this is stupid. Okay. And I'm just telling you, it's dumb on the surface that we would promote something that it doesn't matter. It's a behavior.
Right.
Okay. And we're all born with a fallen sinful nature. So take the I'm born with it thing out of here. That's
right.
just, that
we
doesn't
all
fly.
are.
We all are broken. We're all sinful.
Yeah.
But if you believe that this is a sex-based cult, Chris, why don't you have something that maybe backs it up? I will.
Okay.
How about this?
Yeah.
Warning signs of a cult.
All right.
Okay. And now when we go through this, I want you to keep in mind that think about your school. Think about your local grocery store.
Okay.
By the way, when Pride Month hit in June of 2009, we were just coming off the Harvey Milk celebration.
Yes.
Harvey Milk started getting put in Safeway stores. Well, guess what we did as a morning show? We just asked people to boycott Safeway and send the managers letters. That's all we did.
Yeah.
Couple breaks, couple days a week. Just to say this, walking in and seeing this Harvey Milk banner is offensive
ridiculous.
to me. Now you walk in, you see 3 crosses and repent and believe in Jesus. The offense would go right to the courtesy counter, and that sign would be taken down immediately.
Right. And the fact was the Harvey Milk, a little off topic, but Harvey Milk's not a person, regardless of their sexual orientation, to be honored anyway. I mean, he didn't really do anything legislate. I think the biggest thing he did was like a doggy poop pickup law or something. And scandal just surrounded his entire life, his entire
He was not a good dude.
Office.
He was not worthy to be highlighted.
Not a person.
The only reason he was
worthy of
highlighted was
celebration.
because he was an openly gay man in the 70s. And they say that his gayness didn't even have anything to do with his murder.
Yeah. I mean,
anyway,
it's just weird.
It is weird. So let's go back to this. Warning signs of a cult.
All right.
The leader is always right.
Yeah, that's true.
In the middle of following the rainbow flag, can you question that it's wrong? No, you're
not allowed.
And not only that, I did this whole thing on the Salt and Light message about welcoming and affirming. Mm-hmm. We can be welcoming without being affirming.
Right.
And people say they use the two as one, and that just doesn't fly.
Right.
Criticism of the leader or questioning the leader is considered persecution. I'm telling you right now, if every Christian that hears my voice would just make one phone call to anybody, the grocery store, Walmart, Target, if every Christian would just do one thing like that, just one proactive, hey, this bothers me. I don't want to celebrate sexual cult deviancy. I don't want to do it. it would change everything. Look at the NHL. That's an example. They still have it, but it's muted.
Right.
I believe in the next 5 years, if Christians will actually rise up and be Christians, loving Christians, praying for Christians, sharing the gospel with everybody, including anybody that waves the flag or doesn't wave the flag, we will see revival in this nation.
We did in Bud Light. With Bud Light. We saw things change because people said, no, we're not doing that.
Number 3, anything the leader does is justified no matter how harmful it may be.
The ends justify the means. That is,
the
that's
rainbow,
a good one.
the rainbow cult, sex cult people, you can't question anything, any of their propaganda. Number 4, the leader is the only source of truth. Everybody else is lying. That, it's hard to really pinpoint because it's a rainbow flag thing. But number 5, followers must be blindly devoted to the leader and never question him.
Right. Yeah. No matter what.
This is my number one problem with the LGBT rainbow flag waving crowd. Listen to me very carefully. Why don't you have the ability to listen to the tens of thousands of homosexuals who've come out of that lifestyle because of the love and forgiveness of Jesus Christ? How come they don't have a voice? How come they don't have a platform? How come hockey's not for them?
Right.
Hockey's for everyone. How come hockey's not for them?
Right. Yeah.
How about those of us that are offended? When I see one of my favorite players was out warming up with a rainbow colored tape on his stick, and my heart broke.
You're offended.
I'm offended. Is hockey still for me?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
exactly.
If you're offended by the rainbow flag, then you are the problem, and then there's labels for you.
Yes.
And that is the number 5. You got to blindly be devoted to this thing. And then number 6, members won't recognize they belong to a cult.
True.
So people are not going to recognize that they're actually, what breaks my heart is when I see first, second, third graders all waving the rainbow flags, and you see that picture, if you've seen the memes, side by side with a picture of the kids all waving the Nazi flag.
Yeah, exactly. They have no
one's in color, one's in black and white, same exact thing going on.
What they're doing, and it's thrust upon them. And it's very sad. It's very sad. And at one time, it was considered child abuse. It was considered grooming children, and
still
it was,
should be.
And it's still, the law is still on the books. But we're ignoring it. We're completely ignoring the grooming of children, the laws that are against it, and we're allowing it in places we ought not allow it.
I was sitting around with a bunch of guys. It was at a auto place, like a car dealership type thing, a repair shop.
Okay.
And the phrase was, well, what are you going to do? Yeah, this bothers me greatly, but what are you going to do? Yeah, I can't stand this, but what are you going to do? Well, we'll vote him out in November, or we'll do. It's like, no, you're not tracking with what's actually going on here. The enemy, our enemy, we have an enemy that prowls around trying to destroy us. And if you're not a Christian, somehow you're listening to or watching this show, welcome, number 1. But just to be honest, this show really isn't for you. This show is for the born-again Christian that wants to walk out their faith and they want to have fun. They know what the truth is, and they just want to have some encouragement.
Be encouraged in it.
So I want to let you know, if you're worshiping a rainbow cult, understand it. Look for the signs. Look for how you can come out of it. We are not bigots because we don't approve of a behavior that the Bible calls sinful. We love those folks.
Right.
I mean, I've had some of them work for me and called me a good boss, and they knew where I stood on it. The point on the Salvaged by God Deep Dive this week is in June, how do we redeem the time? It starts with 2 Chronicles 7:14, which says, if my people who are called by my name.
We'll post a bunch of memes.
We'll make a phone call like Chris said. They'll just be proactive. No. If they will humble themselves, repent, and pray, I will hear from heaven, I will heal their land. We will outlast the gay revolution. It's guaranteed, whether it's on this side or on the other side.
Right, because sin eventually will slit its own throat. It's just not self-sustaining.
Yeah.
And so, we will.
Well, and that's where Bible Idiots comes from, which was the forerunner to Salvaged by God. It's like, either if we are idiots for believing the Bible, that's fine. I'd rather be that than the other.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bible says pretty specifically there are certain people that will not, under any circumstances, inherit the kingdom of God.
Right.
So now, let's just say if it's somebody that wears a red shirt with a little bit of blue and white in it, they will never inherit the kingdom of God. That's what the Bible says.
Right.
That I'm wearing a red shirt with a little bit of white and blue in it, and I don't want to take this shirt off because I like this shirt. Now I will try to figure out a way for the Bible to say something else. Elsewhere it says, no, you're just fine.
Yeah.
Look, every single human being on the planet, regardless of your sexual orientation, regardless of your family, regardless of your gender, regardless of your delusional gender, regardless of any of these things, there's one commonality that everybody on the planet has, and that is that you're all sinful and have a fallen nature, and you cannot stand in front of a holy God.
Right.
It's impossible. God has rejected you. We are doomed. We are damned. It's over. Bye. You got no hope.
Right.
Because
we have nothing to stand on.
Nothing you can do to save yourself. And then all of a sudden, the cherubims are talking and they're flying and they're asking, can anybody open the scrolls? Well, it turns out there's one that's worthy.
Only one.
And he lived a perfect life, died a sacrificial death, and he offers that forgiveness to us freely. Mm-hmm. And it's more than he gets us. It's he saved us. He redeemed us.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling you, if you're caught up in the sex cult religion of America today, there is a way to come out of it. And there's thousands that have come out of it before you.
Yep.
And I'm just saying, if you want to criticize me and cancel me because I just totally am off-put by the rainbow flag, the first thing that I would like to ask you is, do you have any sin in your life? Is there a way that you can have some former homosexuals come and talk to you about how they got redeemed? Oh, they weren't real homosexuals? It's just so sad. Emilee, I'll give you final thoughts on this.
It is really sad, but when we do turn to God's word, every morning that we wake up, there is hope. Not just for the believer, but even for the non-believer. Every morning you wake up, there is hope. God is giving you another opportunity to just simply face the facts, see the reality that we need salvation. We need salvation. If you take a look around, you can see the world is fallen. The world is sinking deeper and deeper into depravity. I mean, it's getting more and more dystopian every day. And so if you can see that, if you can acknowledge that, there is a God who will save us from the sin, our own sin, and the sin of mankind.
We look for the speck in our own eye. But on the same token, when somebody's walking towards you with lumber hanging off their glasses, the Bible says you can say something if you really want to. But what you want to do is you want to have love be at the end of the day.
That's what it's
over
about.
Everything.
Yeah.
And I love people that God has put love in my heart too much to not say anything if it's brought up to me. I don't go looking for the trouble, but on the other hand, it is time for Christians to realize that the freedom that you have in Christ, others need.
Yeah.
And they're not going to find it if you just keep capitulating. They're not going to come like Jesus because they like you.
Right.
This whole idea of, let's not
nice,
cause any waves with our words. Let's just be nice to everybody, and maybe they'll by osmosis come to Jesus.
Then they'll like your Jesus. I don't read that in the scriptures anywhere.
Again,
I don't.
Again, all I ask is that all of the saved former LGBTQ folks, tens upon tens of thousands of them are out there, and they do not get a voice.
Yeah.
And so that's my prayer, is that we will outlive the gay revolution. June will pass, and we won't have much angst. And that, my friends, is why we're not going to let our hearts be troubled.
Yes.
And that's your Salvaged by God deep dive.
All right. Well, let's bring in our guest for the day. Rob Roozeboom is joining us, and Rob is all things RiseFest.
That's right.
The festival is coming up in Sheldon, Iowa, and Rob joins us today. Thank you so much for spending a little time with us today, Rob. Having you back is really good.
Thank you.
So the week before the festival, everybody's got to be pulling their hair out. So, usually, this is, it's coming this weekend. So what is some of the big fires you've already had to put out today?
I was just on the phone. That's probably why I'm late, and the fire's not out. It's still lit.
Oh,
We'll get put out. We have had 6 inches of rain in 4 or 5 days. So we've got a lot of water on a piece of ground that needs to be set up, and I'm not letting anybody on it right now.
Well, here's the good thing though, because we're already looking at the forecast, and it looks like forecast you guys should be good. Partly cloudy, highs around 79, 80 degrees. So I hope the weather holds for you guys.
The forecast looks great for the weekend. It's just, can we set anything up beforehand?
Right? Yeah. You need it to dry out, huh?
Oh, literally was on the ground in my chair, my wheelchair, pushing water as I went. I've never
always challenges.
Ever seen it like that before.
I have been to dozens upon dozens of festivals, both, from the rock world back in my secular radio days to all the Christian festivals over the last 20 years. And I have never been to one where there wasn't issues. There's always issues. And it seems like the Christian festivals have more issues like rain and electricity going out and, cars getting in accidents and just weird stuff happening. I bet you have a lot of stories over how many years have you been doing RiseFest now?
We started in 2005 without 2 years. So we're at about 18.
18, 17.
We had a couple of years off.
Couple years off. Okay, that's where the
All right. So any crazy stories of the past where you thought, I don't know if we're going to get through this? Anything
any
like
electrocutions,
any memorable moments?
Any merch tents on fire, anything like that?
Yeah, there is. 2014 was a crazy year. It's similar to what we have now with this rain. I think we got 9 inches in a short amount of time. It felt like Noah showed up in the ark. We had to pull buses out with tractors and tow ropes. We had to tear down the entire stage, reload the semis, pull the semis out with tow ropes, move to a college, unload everything again, wash it, set it up. We made the call that morning. I think it was at 9 or 10 o'clock. They said, if you don't find a place to move this inside now, you're done. And 4 of us got on the phone, started calling places, found a place. 2 teams, 1 ground team, 1 college team. If I remember right, we were able to tear everything down, reload it, wash it, put it back up, and we were going by 4 that afternoon.
Wow.
6. I thought they had said nothing like that had ever been done before to tear it down.
I have never heard anybody ever do what you just described, and I know I've done backline a lot at different events, and I know what you're talking about is not an easy thing to do. And so, hey, you don't have that going this year, so then I guess everything's if that's like your Shackleton moment. Now everything else is just gravy, right? Rob Roozeboom's our special guest. RiseMinistries.com is the website, and you can check out RiseFest that's coming. One of the things that I was looking at the lineup, and I got to ask you about this before we get into some of the other stuff, is that having done this for so long, I'm kind of shocked that Phil Wickham is headlining over Matthew West. How did that come to be?
That tells me you haven't been out of it too long.
I have been out of it for a long time,
Yeah.
You just set yourself up to let people know you're not in this industry. You answered your own question.
I think Phil, what did he do? Like 3 or 4 number 1 songs in the last 3 years? That's why he's now headlining everywhere? Is that it?
Phil Wickham, hands down, will outsell Matthew probably any day of the week. Phil, you go to a church right now, and I don't have this as gospel, but I dare bet you're singing Phil's song. You're not singing Matthew West songs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Phil,
that's how Chris Tomlin got big back in the single digits, like 07, 08, 09. He was doing arena shows because of How Great Is Our God, which we sing in church all the time.
And Phil Wickham's one of our favorites because when we were in the industry and we did a lot of stuff with him, there was a depth there with Phil Wickham that you didn't run across every day. And so we're really glad to see him rise to the top, become, an influence, I guess, in Christian music because there is a depth there. What other artists do you have coming now this year?
So with Phil and Chris just said Matthew West will be there. We also have Lecrae, Seth Schlueter. We've got Jason Crabb, Leanna Crawford, Ben Fuller. We Are Messenger, Skillet. They're all taking the stage.
Nice. Awesome.
Well, the people that are coming to help me with my table, we're going to have a Fresh Road Media table there because, Rob, you asked me to speak in the seminar tent, and that's kind of the trade-off. And everybody that's on my team that's coming all wants to see Ben Fuller. And you want to hear how again, the last time we were on the air was 2015. And so it's been 9 years. And in that 9 years, I don't know who Ben Fuller is. I mean, I've never heard of him. I got to be honest. I probably sing his songs, but when you're in the industry for so long like we were, when you get out of it, I guess you just literally like shut it down. You don't even think about it. But Ben Fuller's got to be, like to a person, every one of my people are like, so I got to see Ben Fuller. I got to see Ben Fuller. Have you been getting that too?
Oh, we love Ben Fuller. Ben Fuller has become a good friend, and yeah, this will be his third year here, and that's part of it. The first time I met him was in Nashville at a songwriter round, and just really, really appreciated him. And then, I have been able to build a friendship with him. And Ben's just a great guy. He's a depth guy as well, similar to the way you were describing Phil. And his heart is just, I love his heart. My daughter, our daughter just graduated last 2 weeks ago or a week ago. And of course we invited Ben to the graduation. He couldn't make it, but here's a guy that sends my daughter a congratulation video.
Nice. Yeah. That's great.
That's awesome.
Well, when you first came on the Emilee show here way back when we first met back in the winter, I think it was, late fall, early winter, we talked about the goal of RiseFest this year was to have 25,001 people. And I'm like, well, let's do it. And I've been praying about this on and off since I met you at that time. And it's just something I'd really like to see come to fruition. Tell everybody, what is the 25-1 goal and why it is, because it's really cool.
Yeah, it's 25,001. Why? What a great question. We learned that 100 years ago, we are coming up on a 100-year anniversary, that our community held the largest gathering ever 100 years ago, and it was the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. And when I was first
in Sheldon, Iowa,
literally in Sheldon, Iowa, they did a parade. They were here for the weekend. We've learned a lot more. There is a display case in our museum. There is the actual article that 25,000 people were here. So this is a real historic event that took place. And when I first learned about it, I thought, that really bothers me. Why is that the number one event to take place, the largest gathering? And so we started talking about it and said, God, could we go after this? Could we redeem the time, the day, the weekend, rather than what we're against or what we hate or what we're anti? What if we came together to worship you and your son, Jesus? What if we could redeem the day, so to speak? And so we have been going after 25,001 all of this year, because their gathering was 25,000, and we just want God to break that record. So next to the Ku Klux Klan in the museum will be a new display.
RiseFest.
Wow, that is so. I'm praying that you meet that as well. I would love to see that record broken, dismantled, and eventually forgotten about.
Amen.
There's another significant thing, though, coming up this Wednesday, I believe you said. You've got a book coming out. Tell us about that.
It's crazy. I was just reading emails before I jumped on with you two, and it said, hey, happy release week. It's really here. Wow. This book has taken 18 years roughly. I was asked to write a book 18 years ago. I told them no. I thought I was done with the whole idea of a book. It resurfaced a few years ago, and then it really resurfaced last summer. Had the opportunity to go before an acquisitions editor, share what was on my heart. And the next thing I know, here's an opportunity to write a book. We have 6, at best 8 weeks to write it so that it can come out this summer. It takes a year to get out. And so God opened all of those doors, every one of them. We get an offer from a publisher. We get a writer to write with me. We get it done in the 6 to 8 weeks. And Wednesday, we get to launch broken, still chosen, finding hope in Jesus when you feel unloved, unseen, or forgotten. And so
Awesome. I love that
that's the
title. What's the thrust? Tell us what it's about.
yeah. Oh, it's crazy. I've had a couple people because I've got them in hand now. So a couple people have read it, and of course the endorsers have read it. And I'm just trying to give you one sentence from all of what I've heard from them. And I don't know if I can. The crazy part about it is we are all broken. We all deal with brokenness in one way or another. And so how do we walk through that? And then how do we view God through that? And so because my brokenness is a progressive muscle disease that has just taken more than I ever wanted to give, the journey with God has been intense and a battleground at times. So the book really walks through all of that. It just really walks through all of that. And so we talk about everyone's broken. We talk about this idea that joy and grief coexist. It's a lesson that I've been learning through all of this is just because I have joy doesn't mean I can't have grief. And just because I have grief doesn't mean I don't have joy. Yeah. I can be on the mountaintop and in the valley at the exact same time because I believe in a God who loves me, sees me, and hasn't forgotten me. I just let the liar whisper in my ear for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob Roozeboom's our special guest. And Rob, are you like we call you the general? We call you the Grand Poobah, the president, the CEO? What's the shakedown at Rise Ministries? What's your title? I always forget.
Well, the title is founder and president. But
founder and president of Rise Ministries. Go to riseministries.com and you will be blessed because it's so much more than a music festival, but it is at the end of the day a music festival that's happening this Friday and Saturday. So if you're anywhere near Sheldon, Iowa, this is the week for you. Plus Saturday at 2 o'clock or 2:10, I'm speaking in the seminar. Is it a building? I've never been there. So it's a seminar. It's a seminar building. And so
it is. Yes.
I've spoken to seminar tents and buildings at festivals before, and what's crazy about the seminars is that you can, usually they set them up to seat like 150 to 200 people, and usually there's only 20 to 50 people in there, and so I've one of the best messages I ever heard was from this guy I'd never heard of before who was speaking right after me at RiseFest in Wisconsin, Yep. And so there's just so much that can be gleaned because people are kind of moving around, and so between the acts, having an opportunity to share for 20 minutes is a treat for me, and I'm excited about it. Rob, you're sharing between Matthew West and the headliner Phil Wickham, and I brought that Phil thing up because that's what I want to talk about. Now, this is your keynote message of the year, right? This is where you get to share to the festival audience, and everybody knows you, and it's kind of been your thing all these years. What do you got planned for Saturday night? Because if I'm in your shoes, I'm thinking that's some big doings. That's heavy responsibility from God right there.
It's heavy responsibility, so it's always a challenge. It's always, God, what are you laying? What is it? And what I keep coming back to is this whole thing about the KKK and taking back ground. We've talked about a number a lot, 25,001. I don't want to give the whole message away the way that I think God is leading me. I'm not sure it was ever about the numbers. I think it was about taking ground back. And when I say taking ground back, I think in our own hearts, and it's time to get real and say, what have we been sacrificing? What have we been sacrificing, allowing the enemy to take more ground? And before we knew it, there was a lot of ground we gave up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this idea of taking back ground and freedom.
Go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of where it is. The more I have been able to travel this year, the more individuals I have run into. I just feel as so many people view God in a way that I did and sometimes still do.
Yeah.
And that is, I am unloved, unseen, and forgotten. Or worse, I'm being punished for everything I've done.
Yeah. It's easy to fall into that. When good things are going good, God must sure be happy with me. And when bad things come our way, what did I do, God, to deserve this? But God isn't like that. He's compassionate. His love just reaches to the depths of wherever a human being can possibly go. And so I'm really excited to see this book come out because, that brokenness that you talk about, that can be applied in so many areas of life, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, maybe in relationships. That brokenness can show up in so many different forms. And when we start sharing our stories, when we start sharing the love of Jesus Christ that he has shown us along the way, we can really learn from one another and we can really strengthen one another. So as people are setting out to attend RiseFest this year, what's the number one takeaway you're hoping people will glean or take when the festival's over and they go home? What is it you want them to carry with them?
The thing that, again, God, I believe has been laying on my heart is I want his spirit to fall on all of us in a new, fresh, a refreshing pour out of his spirit on us. Oh. I want a fire in the bellies when they leave those grounds, a fire of, I don't want to stop talking about Jesus.
Dare we say a fire that makes them drive on a fresh road?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you can't say fresh and without me thinking fresh encounter or fresh road.
Yeah.
For those of you just tuning in for the first time, maybe somebody shared this show with you. I'm the pastor of a church in Harlan, Iowa called Fresh Encounter Church. And so when we started the new broadcast outreach, we called it Fresh Road because what Rob's talking about, what Emilee's talking about, that's what we all want to be about. And Rob, I'm excited because I know that if God lays stuff on your heart and you are able to deliver it, it could be very powerful for the kingdom. So I'm cheering you on and praying for you every day, man. I'm just hopeful that things go good, and I'm excited to be up there to be a small part of it. Any final thoughts you want to leave with the audience today? I know you're busy. You got to go out and push some more water with the wheelchair. I mean,
is there a warning on the wheelchair manual that maybe you shouldn't be doing that?
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be the guy with the squeegee. I'm just, yeah.
But I figure there's some guys around. If I run stuck or the chair kind of fizzles out, they can pick me up and carry me.
Awesome.
They can get
it's
you where you
good
need
to
to
have people with you, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's good to have people back. Yeah. Awesome.
So anyway, final thoughts you want to leave with everybody today, Rob?
One, if you can, we would love for you to join us. Maybe you'll be that 25,001. We obviously would appreciate your prayers. Most of all, I just want people to know they are loved, they are seen, and they are remembered by a God that created all this. And if you're struggling, don't stop praying. Don't stop seeking counsel. Do not go to church. Go to church and have the opportunity to get around other like-minded individuals. I know there's a really hurting world out there, and I want them to know they are really loved.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us. We are praying for you from now until the festival, and we know God is going to do good things. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for being with us, Rob.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, Mike Shaw's in next, and we will be doing Right On Way Off and a whole bunch of other stuff. Keep it right here on No Apology with Emilee and Chris.
Hey, if you enjoy listening to No Apology with Emilee and Chris, if you get any encouragement from it, please consider standing with us financially. Go to freshroadmedia.com and consider giving a wonderful gift today. It is appreciated.
Welcome back to No Apology with Emilee and Chris, a product of freshroadmedia.com, and we are glad that you're hanging out with us again today. This is a talk show just wanting to bring truth to your world honestly and authentically and without apology. Some have called it companion Christian radio, and either way, it's just a Christian worldview variety talk show, and we're just glad you're here. What's up on the docket for today?
Well, it is time to bring in Mike Shaw.
Oh, bring in Mike Shaw.
I think we had been talking, off the air about the direction of the show, and Mike just seems to have all this information, Chris, that you and I tend to be too busy to really mess with. So, Mike,
I can't read the Trump stuff anymore. I'm burnt out on it. I skim past it.
Yeah.
I honestly, I got other fish to fry now. I'm all for having an informed electorate. I'm all for people, staying current events. But I would encourage you to read your Bible 5-1 to any news headlines from anybody, including Epoch Times, including Daily Wire, or any of the good ones.
Or just tune into the show, get your little bits from Mike that you need to know what's going on.
We're recording on June 3rd. As of June 3rd, Monday evening, June 3rd, Mike, is Trump still out of jail? What's happening?
He's not in jail. He was found guilty on 34 counts.
Yeah.
Some of them were felonies. All of them trumped-up charges.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if trumped-up was it created before he was born, or
I know,
did they steal it from
charges.
him?
Isn't that funny? It's so ironic.
It is.
So ironic.
It's crazy.
Now, is this true? I heard, and I don't even remember where I heard it, that when he walked into court, he didn't even know what the charges were.
That's correct. So
How is that even possible?
It's unconstitutional.
Totally.
It gives you a taste of the magnitude of how much he's being railroaded here.
Kangaroo court.
And everything's going to be, I think, easily appealed and won on appeal.
Right.
And if it makes it to the Supreme Court, they'll throw it out just because it's so unconstitutional the way he's been treated. And when he says he did nothing wrong, I would agree with that as far as the law goes. Now, having an alleged affair, he says he didn't. But, just that whole circumstance, you can argue whether that's sketchy or not.
Clinton.
Well, yeah, exactly.
What are we talking about here?
Well, and the thing about Bill Clinton, too, is like the Democrats turn that, it's just about sex. It's just about sex. It's like, no, he lied under oath, and he's the chief executive officer of the land.
Right.
And so that's why he got impeached, but they always turned it back to sex.
Right. That was nobody's business.
Right. And so, if you're going to say if Trump opened the door at all, that would be the door that might have been opened, or the appearance of that. But as far as the legalities go of what he did, a non-disclosure agreement for a certain amount of money and blah, blah, blah. This case was not taken up by numerous people before Mr. Bragg in New York City finally decided to take it up. And then just the way that the judges handled things, including his final instructions to the jury, was like, you can just find one thing, or, you don't all have to agree.
Yeah,
it was very sketchy.
The judge was weird.
But that's all recorded, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's common public knowledge. It's not like we're assuming the judge said this. People have heard and recorded the judge actually giving those bogus instructions.
Yeah. So what I heard was, they didn't write them down for the jury, but then they published them on the website, the government's website. So yeah, definitely those instructions are out there.
So how is the judge still on the bench? That's what I want to know.
Well, because it's only June 3rd. So, we'll see how things move forward.
Yep.
If there will be any consequences for the wrongdoers in the long run. But, it'll probably be in the long run.
Yeah.
Politically, you have a lot of at least conservatives and conservative Republicans saying, we need to fight back. We need to start arresting Democrats on real charges because, we know several people that have done actual real things that there's lots of evidence for.
Exactly.
And try them and threaten them with jail.
Yeah.
And, fight fire with fire. So,
yeah. What a waste of our judicial system. What a complete,
It's revealing, though, isn't it, on how corrupt.
Goodness. It is corrupt. It is corrupt. And, when you think about it, law enforcement and government and all these entities are only going to be as moral as the society from which they come out of.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're kind of looking at is, it's such a divided nation. There is a clear battle between good and evil. And the rejection of Christianity and gospel truth and the Bible is at an all-time high. Yeah. So, surprise, surprise, we now have a kangaroo court.
That's right. I always say, stolen elections have consequences, and it's the spirit of Antichrist leading the actual Antichrist. And, all of those things are at play, and evil certainly is there. And leadership matters.
Yeah.
When we had Gary Kuhn on a couple weeks ago, before the hiatus, we were talking about how leadership matters, and obviously the leadership that in the country right now is taking us in a very wrong direction. as we heard in the deep dive for the Salvaged by God. So, it's June. It's marriage season. It's not all that other stupid stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I saw a meme just the other day that said, "Welcome to the." I don't even know if I'm going to say this right. The Noahic covenant, the month of the Noahic covenant awareness month with it was
Noah.
Yeah.
Noah.
Oh my God.
Noahic.
You mean where God put a rainbow in the cloud to remind himself not to flood the earth again?
You remember when he said pride was one of the 7 deadly sins? So why not merge those two? Why not steal the rainbow and then add pride to it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
it's
so just like Satan to be evil.
Exactly. Yep.
To be a counterfeit.
He makes evil really evil. Like
he really does.
Yeah, he does.
And so then you got the George. So I heard this from a credible source. I didn't chase it down myself. Allegedly, according to a source, that George Soros said, say Trump was convicted by felonies and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And that's what they've been doing on all the networks.
It's right out of Hitler's playbook.
And Trump's numbers are going up, and they're going up, and they're going up.
Nice.
And they're going up.
Yeah.
And I heard one commentator, and I really agree with this. They have accomplished what Trump couldn't do himself, was that they've made him likable.
Right.
He's now a victim.
Yeah.
And we can relate,
Yep.
To his injustice. What happened to him could happen to us.
Absolutely.
And many times has happened to us.
And many times has happened.
I mean, have
to
you
us.
ever been working for a family-owned business and or known somebody who's getting ready to get the next big promotion or whatever, and they give it to the college kid who doesn't know anything, but he has the same last name?
Of course, yeah.
I mean, there's so many injustices out there. That's just one that popped into my head.
Right.
Just bullying at school.
Yeah.
It literally is like the Democrats are like the school bullies, and everybody's been bullied at school.
Yeah.
And you know what that's like, and that's what it feels like from the outside. And again, I have a 10,000-foot view on this. I am not in the minutia on these. Anything with Trump, I'm not in. I'm not. I'm going to vote for him, of course. He'll be the only one I've ever voted for 3 times.
That's right.
But I'm all for his policies. I just don't have time for the nonsense anymore. And part of it is I can't stomach no one being able to stop this. You talk about the Supreme Court. That's one of the first things that people are talking about.
Yeah.
What if they don't take up the case and they just let him twist in the wind?
Yeah.
They let his
They
felony
will.
conviction stand so he's not eligible for president.
I think they
Then
will.
what happens?
I think they will.
You think they will take
I
it
think
up?
they will. I don't see there's it may not even get to them. It may get taken care of before it gets to
Yeah.
I want
problem is
the
this stuff
attorneys and the
takes time.
judges and the people that are responsible for this, I want them to be held accountable.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I
that's
think
the
that there's
thing.
justice needed for this country to heal.
There's got to be somewhere on the books in our law written that you cannot use the judicial system. You can't weaponize it and use it to harass, to drive people into, poverty by
Political
suing them
opponents.
over and over and over again. Like somebody has to say, stop.
Yeah. So a couple things. Yes, you are correct. Those laws are on the books. Trump's attorneys have asked for sanctions and rebukes of judges and prosecutors, and we'll see where that goes. Nowhere. You know why? Because stolen elections have consequences.
Exactly.
And we have a president who's in charge of the executive branch, and they're all on one side.
Exactly.
And so they have power, and they're not afraid to use it in really, frankly, illegal ways.
Right.
And not that the Republicans are pure as white, as driven snow.
Right.
But I mean,
Half of them are in on it too. Maybe 3/4.
Something called the Uniparty.
Yeah.
Have you heard the Uniparty?
Exactly. Exactly.
I would say that's why we can't have nice things. is, some of the
man.
Republicans who don't stand up.
How did we get to where we are?
Well, how much time do you have?
I really believe that if you said, can you boil it down to one thing? I don't think that's fair. I don't think you can boil it down to one thing.
Right.
But from the Salvaged by God deep dive mini rant about the rainbow flag to Rob Roozeboom being on the show with RiseFest coming, looking for 25,001.
and taking back territory.
And taking back territory.
Perfect.
I believe that there's one reason why we are in the situation we're in, and that is because Christians who knew the truth decided to not have a spine in a million different situations. And I mean a million like a legitimate million, like maybe 10 million. Maybe 10 million times in our country in the last 25 years, Christians have had an opportunity to say, hey, that's offensive to me. Hey, that's not good for my kids. Hey, that's not good for business. That's not good for anything.
Right.
You know, well, what about these people's feelings? They're oppressed like civil rights. No, they're not. I mean, and when they were being oppressed because of their behavior, Christians could have done more to stand up against the sin and still love the sinner. And and again, I think I said this on a previous show. We were in Anaheim in 2005, and Wells Fargo had just come out in support of the rainbow flag. And in Alaska, where we were, that was the only bank we had. We'd have to mail stuff down to the United States, and there was talk about trying to boycott Wells Fargo. And Focus on the Family had this thing, because SpongeBob did something that leaned himself towards the LGBT. And so there was a little bit of an uproar. Do you remember that, Emily?
Yeah.
2005, a little bit of an uproar. And so Focus on the Family, everybody gives ministries at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention. And this time it was in Anaheim, California. We're giving out all these little kitschy things. Well, Focus was this picture of a sponge, and it had a little popsicle stick so you could like wave it. And it was a thing for their event coming up. And it said, love the sponge, hate the sin, or hate the sin, love the sponge. And I watched, because we were at the Focus on the Family booth, and I watched 3 different. One was a lady, it was 2 guys, very well dressed, obviously executives from somewhere. I know where one of them was from, I'm not going to name it. They refused to pick them up.
Oh.
They didn't want, what if somebody saw me with this and they, you know, you got to take sides, folks. I mean, I'm sorry. And Jesus says we're going to be called names. We're going to be persecuted, all these things. But I want them to like me. I want to be welcoming and affirming.
There's also something to be said about, you know, the evil that's at work today is the same evil that's been at work since the beginning of time. And when we see how God interacts with individuals, communities, and nations, there is a reality that when a nation of people, sinful, fallen people, becomes very prosperous, we get weak. We get very weak. We get very, just whatever the status quo is fine. And now we're waking up to the reality of the consequences of exactly what you said, Chris. We got weak. We got soft. We no longer wanted to stick our neck out or risk anything because life is too comfortable just the way it is.
And so you take that and add it to our virtues. Yeah. We want to be loving. We want the best for people. And so if they are in a lifestyle and because of their sinful choices, they're being oppressed, we don't want to see them oppressed anymore.
Right.
We want to help them. We want to see them live a healthy life. The reality is that you cannot pick and choose based on skin color, sexual orientation, gender, any of these things. You can't pick and choose who needs Jesus, because guess what? They all need Jesus.
Exactly.
Once you get your mind around that everybody's fallen, and that righteousness then gets imparted to us, even Christians walking with Jesus can still stumble and fall, and some of them can fake it like it's like a lifestyle. They're not even born again. But
I realize I need Jesus probably more today than I even did the first time I surrendered to him.
So everybody's a fallen nature, and now they want to do this. I think that there comes a point in time where you have to look at what Elliot Ness did to finally get convictions on Al Capone. I think that's something we need to consider. What did you just say, Mike, that people are thinking about being aggressive towards the Democrats and arresting them with real crimes?
Yeah, so you're talking about there are states that have Republican attorneys general.
Yes.
It's a weird way to do it, but anyway, attorneys general.
That is the proper way to say it.
And so, these Republican attorneys general are being urged by people to, hey,
do something. Do your job.
Press some legit charges against some Democrats.
Yeah.
And let's fight fire with fire. And
happen.
I don't know if that will happen or not.
If it does happen, it'll be a turning point in this country that you cannot underestimate how important it is.
I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Ken Paxton in Texas is pretty tough, and he's alluded that perhaps he will. I don't know. We will have to wait and see. But there's a saying, for evil to prevail, good people do nothing.
Yep.
And so that to an extent is where we are. And and
we do have people
we'll see if that changes.
in the political circles that they're trying to fight the good fight. I think they're just so few and far between at this point that it's really, really difficult. Maybe AI can come to our rescue. I doubt it.
I think
it's going to come to their rescue.
I think it's the opposite. So
they're going to use AI to shut us all down.
Nice segue, because we talked extensively about AI a couple weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. And a previous show. And just look for the titles as, AI is something about the Antichrist or something like that. Anyway, we have a couple of those.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about, but what we didn't get to was the singularity.
What's
so the singularity in the minds of these people pursuing AI is where the AI will be super smart and then humans will merge with artificial intelligence. And that's where the brain implants come in. That's where the, putting our consciousness in robots with AI comes in.
I just got to chill up my spine, literally.
And I was watching a video and they're talking about living forever.
Ooh.
And they were talking about living forever. And I was like,
Didn't Walt Disney try that?
Well, so I got into a discussion with Kevin and Nora's Kevin, and yesterday.
Okay.
At church, and he was talking about, isn't it crazy how fallen people will make an excuse not to do the right thing? They're blinded to the obvious. And he was talking about the Oslo Accords with the Palestinians and how all they had to do was recognize Israel as a state, and they would get their own state, and they couldn't bring themselves to do it. And he was using that as an example. And I had been thinking about this singularity thing. I was like, Kevin, that's exactly it. You've got people who don't realize that if you live forever in a robot, then you're in a fallen state. You don't realize that you're in a fallen state. You think this is the best it gets.
Yeah.
And God, in his infinite wisdom, is going to come and judge all of us. And so you better have Jesus.
Whether you're merged or not.
Whether you're merged or not. So you better have Jesus when that happens, because he doesn't want to leave you in a fallen state forever, merged with AI in a singularity, living in a robot.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how everybody has eternity written on their hearts from the time of their really young age? God wrote eternity on our hearts, and the quest to be immortal is part of what's
real
in us.
It's a desire.
And
like Highlander. There can only be one.
The fact is, we are immortal. We're immortal beings. It's just a matter of what location you're going to end up at.
Where are you going to spend eternity?
And the reality is what it gets so hard for people to get their minds around, because we're all good people. Oh, Americans, we're good people. My neighbor's a good guy.
Thank you for saying
my
that.
other neighbor on the other side, she's a good gal. I mean, we just got good people all around us. No, we don't.
No.
That's the deception, right? And I used to believe it before BC, before Christ. I thought, you're born naturally good.
That's what the Pope said.
Yeah,
we're all
innocent
good
babies.
We're all good. And then
most people are good. There's just a few rogue sinners out there. I think that's what.
Well, I didn't murder
Francis
anybody.
said.
I'm not Hitler, so God's got to look at my good deeds.
Yeah.
And even the Catholic prayer at the end of the Camino, or 7 days before the end of the Camino de Santiago, the walk across Spain, the pilgrimage, is you ask God to weigh your good deeds against your bad at the day of judgment.
It's evil.
That's not, that's why we walked the Camino de Santiago in 2016 to testify that Jesus paid it all.
Yeah.
Yeshua paid it all. There's nothing we can pay. There's nothing we can add to.
So here's the question, Mike. Are you seeing, I feel like in the last 30 days, AI, I'm watching it take over. I'm seeing it infiltrate into social media. I'm seeing it infiltrate into television and art and commercials.
It's
just
worse
everywhere.
than you think.
Yeah, the push is on to make it normal.
Yeah, I mean, Matthew
McConaughey's
on TV, promoting how, AI will never steal or share your information. And it's like, of course not. It'd be like giving it to themselves.
So
they have it all anyway.
They do.
They don't need to.
They do. So what we talked about a few weeks ago was, AI. For instance, we talked about, Christian nationalism, and let's say they make that group domestic terrorists, and now we need to find them. AI will be very, very, very good at going through everybody's everything and figuring out what matches the description of air quote Christian nationalists.
I'll be first in line.
So there's that. But AI is getting embedded in everything.
Yes.
So it's already on your Android phones. If you have a Pixel, you have you have a Samsung, you're getting the Gemini app built in. You don't even have to download it. It's going to be the new assistant.
Yep.
Amazon's doing the same thing with Alexa. Hopefully I didn't wake someone's up just now. Sorry about that. Windows, the new Windows, they came out with the new Surface laptops that are going to have AI built in. It's going to take a screenshot of what you're doing every 3 seconds so that you can go back in time and remember what you were doing and piece back together something that you may have to retrieve.
I want to throw my computer out the window right now.
And so then that's what Matthew is saying. Well, it's all on this. I don't know if Matthew's talking about this, but they're saying it's all on the device. It's not going into the cloud. Your stuff is safe. Yeah, for now.
Right,
I don't trust the cloud either.
Yeah,
so.
I don't put stuff on the cloud.
It's not going in the. It's not going in the cloud at
trust it.
first.
Yeah.
But at some point you'll be able to choose that.
I mean, when it comes to AI, I am like that grumpy old man who doesn't trust the banks and his mattress is full of cash. Yeah. I mean, that's how I am. I'm not trusting I don't see
not.
I see us all in floaty chairs getting fatter than we are right now.
Well,
is that possible?
Seriously, there's an interview of Elon Musk, and it was so riveting to watch him over. It was a long interview, and they asked him a lot of questions, and this whole AI thing has unnerved him as well.
Sure.
And he's at the forefront of it, number one. But
he's developing his own.
Yeah, he started using the term "our AI God." Our AI God will do this. Our AI God will do that.
Well, he'll be here in less than 3 years, he said. That was a year ago.
Yep.
Exactly. And how it just rolled off his tongue so easily. AI God. AI God. We won't need that because we'll have AI God, so we'll just turn to our AI God, and our AI God will give us this, and will give us everything that we need. And it was just striking.
Can I add on to that before Mike responds?
Yeah.
The other thing he said in that same interview is that they asked him whether AI would eventually take over and completely annihilate all of civilization. And he didn't answer the question.
He didn't say
Instead,
no.
he said,
He doesn't know.
He
It's
basically
an
said yes. He said, yeah, it's going to happen. He said, I would much rather live in these interesting times, even though annihilation's around the corner, than to not be alive during this time. And so do you see all of that, AI God, annihilation, all of that coming?
So this is the biggest story that people are not talking about enough. AI is getting smart enough and getting smart very quickly where people are already losing jobs, and it's going to be massive. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be sooner than people think. Mm-hmm. And then it's going to be everywhere. So it's going to be embedded in everything.
Just like the internet.
And then just like the internet, except the internet's going to be less than necessary because, again,
right. I'm talking about how it changed lives where no one can live without the internet.
Right. So this is the internet plus phone technology put together times 1,000.
Right.
Is how, and the people who are idealistic and don't believe in evil in the world think that we're all going to be sitting in our chairs getting fatter. But, the problem is there is evil in the world. And so they think the AI is going to do all the work, and then we're going to be able to have leisure
live in
activities
utopia.
And
because they haven't read the Bible where God says you will eat by the sweat of your brow.
Yeah, well, it works
That's
good for you.
a fact.
Right.
That is an inescapable, axiomatic reality, and people are working very hard to get around that, and you won't.
And so
we're going to
and so we're going to rely more and more and more on AI to the point where yes, AI is going to be put in charge of a lot.
Yeah.
And maybe someday AI will be considered as God, and then that goes back to Chris's prediction.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at AI in film over the weekend.
Yeah.
And also AI in broadcasting. And Emilee used to do a lot of voice work where she would read stuff for people. Those jobs are gone.
Yeah.
In fact, I learned in the last month or 2 months that you could actually take this show, just this Spotify, this iTunes, this YouTube, this Rumble, whatever this is, this episode.
It could duplicate any of us.
And it could duplicate any of us to where Emilee could be reading all of the stuff for people in her professional voice as AI, and it would sound just like her, and she's entitled to no compensation.
See, but here's the flip side of that, because it's the
Wild West out there right now.
It is the Wild West. But this whole technology was developed, or I should say was encouraged to be developed for people who could no longer speak. And so for whatever reason, whether it was an accident or a health reason or whatever, you would have these family members who could no longer audibly speak to you. And they harnessed that technology. They found, enough dialogue, recorded dialogue of that person that they could put it into a computer. And now that person, through the computer, could audibly speak to the people in the room. And it was amazing. And it was like these people, these family members who hadn't heard their loved one speak in 10 years, all of a sudden heard their voice saying what that person wanted to say, and it was like, the tears were flowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's this miraculous, wonderful side to it.
Well, just like communicating on the internet.
Yeah.
And yet the internet's used for all kinds of evil too.
Exactly.
There's going to be so many cool technologies coming out of this. I mean, it's not going to be unnoticed, and people are going to love it.
Yeah.
And I would be one of those people. I always talk about how much I love technology, but it always gets used for evil, and I get upset about that.
It does.
It's like, okay, well, we'll just ban AI or ignore it, or you can't.
No.
It's like, do you have Google Maps on your phone? Do you have an iPhone because it's secure? Did you put Google Maps on it? Well, there you go.
It's like trying to ban Fauci from manipulating viruses, and he just goes to Wuhan.
Oh, you mean
right?
Mr. Science?
Yeah.
The science. I am the science.
You can't. You can't ban knowledge. I mean, just like, we should ban guns. You realize we know how to make guns.
I saw Star Trek where he built something out of a hollow piece of branch,
we can people know how to make guns. We have metal workers that could do that. I don't know. Anyway, we're doomed.
We're doomed.
We're doomed.
But it's going to be fun on the way.
These are indeed interesting times, and these are times where we need to share the gospel and draw close to the Lord ourselves. So I think it is time for Right On, Way Off. You guys want to play?
I'm ready.
I'm right
All
on.
right, let's do that. Let me put on my
right on about being right on for Right On, Way Off.
Visual enhancement apparatus here quick. And I have to just determine which one I'm going to do in what order. So give me just 1 second.
Oh, sure.
I think I'm going to do the big one first. All right.
Why not?
There's 3 statements that I'm going to be reading for Mike and for Chris. They're going to tell me whether these statements are right on or way off. And we're going to talk about it a little bit, and then I will let them know if they are right on or way off. Here's the first one. It's kind of a long one. Chris, we're going to start with you.
Okay.
And I'm going to try this time to keep points. I'm so bad at multitasking. Okay, Chris.
You don't have to keep points because nobody cares.
Mike.
In fact, sometimes I just go way off just to get it wrong.
When I get to the
for
end,
radio
don't do
theater.
that.
Hey, as
This
long as I
is
get my
Radio theater.
If I get my participation trophy, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right.
And I try to be 100% honest.
Here's the statement. You tell me
try.
whether it's right on or way off. Let's face it. If you were born in Israel, you'd probably be Jewish. If you were born in Saudi Arabia, you'd probably be a Muslim. If you were born in India, you'd probably be a Hindu. But because you were born in North America, you're likely a Christian. Your default faith is not inspired by some divine constant truth. It's simple geography and adapting to the faith of your family. Is that right on? Or is that way off?
That's
Chris,
way off.
What do you think? Why?
Well, it's way off because when you look at the spread of different religions around the globe and you look at the timeline and the historicalness of it all, this is one of those things where there's just a slight semblance of possible truth,
Okay.
and then it's taken the whole way.
All right.
Like you have
like evolution.
Yeah, no, it's like you have this little bouillon cube of chicken stock, and yet you put it in water and you try to tell everybody you've got this big chicken dinner.
Yeah,
you don't.
I'm proud of you for pronouncing bouillon correctly. Well, you should get a point for that.
Apparently, I can't say pouring sugar.
No,
we established that like 5 shows ago.
No, we don't have to go back to
that. No, we're not going to. Okay. Anyway, finish your thought.
So the reality is that is taking it way too far. There are some things that, like the big religion, if you were born in Italy, would you automatically be Catholic? No. Would you have a leaning towards that? Yes, it's your culture. The culture that you are born into does dictate certain things. But the truth of Jesus Christ and the gospel of Jesus Christ knows no borders. And it wasn't just enhanced from Europe and into America. Christianity's been spreading around the world from Jerusalem since the crucifixion, so in the resurrection. Right. So from there to the whole world, it just so happens that the New World, North America, in that story was founded on Christians looking for Jesus Christ on these shores. And so, again, just the rewritten history and how we've been trying not to be a Christian nation. So I am way off with whoever wrote that crackpot statement.
All right, Mike, I dare you to contradict him. Let's face it, if you were born in Israel, you'd probably be Jewish. If you were born in Saudi Arabia, you would probably be Muslim. If you were born in India, you'd probably be Hindu. But because you were born in North America, you're likely a Christian. By some, your default faith is not inspired by some divine constant truth. It's simple geography and adapting to the faith of your family.
Way off.
Way off.
Okay. I mean, Chris nailed it, but, that statement starts out true. All those things are true. My grandparents grew up in Italy. They were Catholic. My mom was Catholic. Grandma became Bible-thumping, Bible-believing grandma. My mom became
a rebel.
My mom went New Age and numerology, and then she became a Bible-believing Christian. And then I grew up heathen, but I had a praying mama, and so I became ultimately a Christian thanks to my praying mama, and then again my mom, influence and others. So it appears right on the surface. However, Chris rightly states that Christianity is the truth, and the truth has been spreading since it started with 12. Started with Jesus and his 12, the inner circle of 3, and then it was Judea, Samaria, and the outermost parts of the world. So
go and make disciples to the ends of the earth.
That's been happening. So and we pray that, we know that the gospel will be preached to every living thing, and then the end will come. So,
and then the end will come. All right, you both said right, or you both said way off. Right. It is way off, and it does start with a premise that's not totally skewed, but it is more than just geography and odds. The reality is this: when you compare Christianity to other religions, there is a freedom there. You don't get to go to a Jewish state. You don't get to go to a Muslim state. You don't get to go to a Hindu state and just spread whatever message you want to spread. It doesn't happen. You don't get to proselytize in those places. However, you find yourself in a Christian nation, and the freedom that Christ brings is the freedom to discover. You don't have to be right. You can be wrong and then learn what's right and change your mind. And you don't have that ability in these other religions. It's forbidden. It cannot. Verboten. It's not allowed to happen. And yet it does. We've looked at countries around the world that for some time would be some sort of religion, and then all of a sudden, boom, Christianity lays hold of it. And it changes the course of history. I mean, Ireland is one of them. They were just, violent marauders for a long time. And all of a sudden, they did. Their ire was up. And Christianity came to that island and changed its course. So what religion you are, that changes, not just as a nation, but as an individual as well. And Christianity and Christian nations, by and large, are the place where humans are given the freedom to discover what really is truth. Those other nations are not. So you guys are both right. You both get a point for that. So congratulations, you're tied.
It's like a soccer match, 1-1.
Could you be more bored, Chris? Yay.
Yeah, I got a point.
That's great.
All right, question number 2. This one could go on for a while. I don't know. It's a thought that's been flown around. Mike, we're going to start with you. Individuals should own their own DNA. Is that right on or way off?
It's right on. It's a complicated issue. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it's kind of complicated.
Yeah.
But it is right on. I mean, it's your DNA. You were born with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's unique, and that's what's so weird that you don't want your DNA to get out there. Of course, everyone sends theirs in.
I know.
To find out if their ire was up back in the day. I'm 2% Irish.
Find out if you're Native American. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, yeah, give it away, and
we do.
It's like putting Google Maps on your phone. So and of course, if you're accused of a crime and they need DNA, or they get your DNA from a crime scene, even if it's alleged, then it goes into a database.
Yeah.
And some people are trying to put in some laws, and maybe some states have those laws where, if you're not convicted, then maybe that can be purged. I don't know if those are laws or not. Those are appropriate laws, I think.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to just give away your DNA willy-nilly, and you certainly don't want the government collecting all these biometrics on you. Like, I don't know, Face ID on your iPhone or my thumbprint on my Pixel.
Yeah.
So somebody has that stuff. It's like we're giving all away our these things that could be used to go against our freedoms.
Exactly.
And I fear that someday it may. So it is right on. You should own your own DNA.
We should go down that path. Chris, what do you think? Individuals should own their own DNA. Is that right on or way off?
That's right on.
All right.
Give me an example where somebody should not be able to own their DNA. I mean, what justification would there be for anybody's DNA to be open season for anybody?
Well, they do use DNA in a lot of crime solving and things like that.
I mean, but why would you have a right to have my DNA? Or Mike's or yours. I mean, and who would want that? And who would want to say it's legal for us to take DNA from any human being on Earth because we have that right? Well, I don't get it. What?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, especially when you get into law enforcement, because you get arrested for something. I don't know. Can they legally take your DNA at the point of arrest? I don't even know anymore. What do you think, Mike?
They can take your fingerprints. I suppose they're just looking at it just like a fingerprint database. They want a DNA database, and so now they're trying to say you can't. You don't even own your fingerprints. So.
Right.
All they have to do is take a hair strand out of your comb.
I know. That's the thing, is that people can get it so easily.
Yep.
You throw away your cup at Starbucks, and somebody can get it out of if they're watching and they get it out of the trash, they've got your DNA. You know what I mean? So how can we safeguard from it being used in a way we don't want to
I would say the best safeguard is to get our consciousness put in an AI robot.
Let's ask AI if that's even possible.
Should I get ChatGTP and ask him what's the best way to preserve our DNA?
Yeah, then you won't have DNA. You'll just have parts.
Yeah, we've already
you won't
done
have
that
to think about that. You won't have to breathe. You won't have to have a heart.
I like breathing.
You won't have internal organs. You won't have to eat. You won't need porta potties at the construction site.
That means you can't taste or smell.
Well,
that's sad.
They're working on that.
Yeah, I think they can. I think
they're working on that.
Technology that can smell smells
they're
now.
Working on
there?
that. Yeah, they're working on that. Yeah.
That's freaky.
Wow.
All right. So you both got that right. Last one. I don't know what you guys. I think I know what you guys are going to say, but you never know what you guys are going to say. The last statement,
Makes
Chris.
sense.
Yes.
Homework.
Yes.
Should be banned. Is that right on or is that way off? Homework should be banned.
All right.
No caveats.
No caveats. All right. I'm going to go way off.
Okay. Wow.
I don't know.
Said the guy who barely graduated.
No. Said the guy who homeschooled his kids, because if I'm going to do it every night from 7 to 10, we might as well just make it like I can teach them better than you can.
Exactly.
Give me the same book. We can get through. And we did. We did.
Yeah.
Homework I think is ridiculous. I think it's way out of hand. I think there are different teachers of all different walks of life. Some try to do it all in the classroom. Others only want to show videos, and they're just waiting for their retirement check. Other teachers find it significant that over the weekend you're tasked with this enormous amount of school book work, which should have been done in the classroom. And so I can't stand homework, but I'm still going to go way off.
Okay.
Because there are times when you need to do some things at home where you just need to pick up extra projects. So I would not ban it. So I'm against the ban.
Who are you and what have you done with my husband? I want to know.
I'm against the ban because
You're
the
ban
creates other problems. But I can't stand homework being. I mean, we had a couple years when our kids we had 4 kids like between 3rd grade and 8th grade, 7th grade. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally what we did Monday night through Friday night was homework every night from like 7 to 10.
Yep.
And then
that was all we did with our evenings.
And then my daughter's 7th grade biology book, it's like there's a bunch of lies in here, and I know they're lies. Mm-hmm. So I went and pointed them out to the school district, and they just shrugged and went, "Well, yeah, that's." So
that's the curriculum.
That's the curriculum, and so the next year, I'm like, "Well, did you get different books?" They're like, "No, same one. Yeah, we're still using this." Whatever. All right, my kids are. I'm homeschooling my kids from here on out. We're done. So that's.
If you homeschool them, you want to be able to give them homework, right?
Well, yeah, but you know what? There are good teachers that you got 50 minutes with the kid. 20 minutes teach them, 20 minutes have them work out the exercise, 10 minutes have them correct it, and you've done your job. Mm-hmm. You know, this idea that you're going to show them a video for 30 minutes and then teach them for 15 minutes and give them a handout that they have to have in tomorrow's class as the bell rings is ridiculous.
Okay, very good. So I'm really confused by your answer.
I am way off because I don't support the ban on homework. When you ban something like that has other problems that could create out of that.
All right.
Where, like, for example, science projects would now be banned from working at home. A lot of parents, myself included, and a lot of kids. No, I hated it, but it was one of the times I got to do stuff with my dad or my older brother or something. Okay. When I got to help my kids with their science projects, even though we never got a ribbon ever.
They were so stressful.
Wait, I think we're doing therapy right now. Hang on.
The big orange one is the sun. The big orange one is the sun.
Don't ban homework. No, I won't spend time with my dad.
I'm way off. I'm against the ban. I'm against the ban because there could, but
Daddy, will you do homework with me? All right, Mike Shaw.
I read to my kids.
You did. Mike Shaw, homework should be banned. What do you think?
Oh, my gosh. I have the exact same answer, so I should take the other view.
Radio theater.
I have the exact same answer, so I'm going to take the other view.
Ban it.
Homework should be banned.
Yes.
Homework is from the devil, from the pit of hell. Is
freedom,
homework,
time-sucking teachers that don't care about me and my sports.
That's right. If you have to send homework home with your kids, you're a bad teacher and you should be banned at that point.
My life's miserable. Guess what, kids? I'm taking it down with me.
Exactly. That's how some teachers are.
If you don't understand your math assignment, tough kids.
Ask your parents at home.
Without a homework assignment.
All right. Well, I'm glad you did that, Mike, because you get a point for that.
No
homework
way.
Should be
banned. Really? No, it shouldn't. Ban is too strong of a word. You can't ban homework. I hate homework. I didn't do homework.
See that there within lies the problem. So you got 2 kids, one who's doing well in school, so they go home and they do their homework, which makes them do even more well in school, and the one who's struggling in school all day long, goes home, has to struggle some more, doesn't want to do it, and then
there's kids who don't need to do homework because they don't need the homework to do well on the tests, and they're learning the material.
Right.
Let them work at their own pace. Where can you do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Homeschooling, maybe?
We can homeschool, but here's the deal. When they are at the school for 8 hours a day, that's as much as an adult spends at the office. Mm-hmm. And so when they get home, you don't really want adults to have to continue their workday at home. And I don't think you should be asking students to do that.
And you should turn off their cell phones so their teachers quit calling.
Exactly. And how will teenagers ever learn to play Call of Duty if there's homework?
That's right.
That's what I want.
There you go.
Excellent point.
Yeah. Well, how will they ever grow up to be professional gamers? Like, never. All right. So Mike wins once again today.
By taking the opposite view for theater.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
For radio theater.
Radio theater wins the day.
That never seems to pan out for you, Chris. What's up with that?
And again, my significance as a human, as a man, as a Christian.
Yes.
Got to be honest, it's not on the line here.
So I don't know. I get the trophy. I get the trophy till next week, right? And then the trophy's up for grabs.
Mike, you can have it permanently.
If you don't,
really?
Yes, that's a take-home trophy, man.
If you don't start passing here, Chris,
on my mantle.
I'm going to send home some homework. I don't know. No.
Yeah.
That, I think, is going to do it for the show.
I've held the Winston 500 trophy that Davey Allison won. Okay.
All right, you win.
That's nothing compared to the thought of maybe winning right on way off and having those points.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know,
exactly.
right? You gotta prioritize, and you gotta get things straight here.
Yeah,
So,
we won our league and the traveling midgets when we played World Series baseball as kids. Yeah. We won our league.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for Right On, Way Off, and it's also going to do it, I think, for the show. No Apology with Emilee and Chris. Chris, do you have any final thoughts?
I thought you were signing off. I would just say for those of us who, like Emilee, were, and I'm not far from Emilee. We're right there together. We're just so beat down with this rainbow flag every June just being choked on us that we've got to continue to pray for people to be soundly saved.
Share the gospel.
And we cannot let it get us down. And, I love the movement of people with what do you call it? The Noahic?
Yes.
Like
the
Noah.
Noahic. The Noahic.
Instead of Abrahamic,
Noahic.
There's the Noah covenant, basically, with the rainbow. I'd love for us to take it back as best we can. But right now, if somebody walked by and they had a rainbow shirt on and you couldn't read the little words underneath it that said Noah's covenant or whatever, what would you think? You'd think that person's full of gay pride.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So they've hijacked the rainbow flag.
They have.
I don't think there's any. I love the push to try to go get it back. But
I think we will.
But at this point, it comes down to the fact that no, we won't shop at Target. No, we won't do some of these things. And I think it's time, like what Mike said, where bring up some Democrats on charges. I mean, look at the Untouchables with Elliot Ness and how they got Al Capone. And I'm just telling you, I don't see the Republicans doing anything because I think that they're all bought and paid for, and the whole thing's a sham, and that's why
they're outnumbered.
And again, I always come back to this: if you think the Republicans are going to do anything, then look for that press conference, like that happens where all the Republicans come out and say these January 6th prisoners need to be let go because we know it's all a sham now. They've got to stand for right. I didn't see that conference either. And they're not going to. Yeah. That's the problem.
Oh,
and I don't think the Supreme Court's going to bail Trump out of this either. So anyway, my final thoughts are don't be sad because it's Pride Month. Be sad for all these other reasons.
And be angry, please. Please be very angry.
And whatever you do, don't assign homework.
That's right.
Mike Shaw, do you have anything to add to this fiasco of a close?
I'm sorry. I'm off today. I'm not on my game at all.
This is why I'm not giving away my DNA. I'm just not. The regime is evil. And Chris is not wrong. So I will point out the reason why you didn't see that press conference is because it wasn't covered. There were some Congress people who went out to the jail, and this was when they were first put in jail.
Yep.
And they wanted to see them. They were not let in.
Yep,
they had cameras with them. It was on, Twitter's where I get my news. So you need to tune in there, but it is a time suck for sure. So not everyone has time to do that.
Yep.
But I mean,
I'm glad to hear that because I never heard that.
There's a handful. There's a handful.
Yeah. That was a while ago, though, and there are a few that are still sitting in the clink.
So I'll just name Marjorie Greene.
Yes.
Yep. So she's one of them, and she's still fighting.
Yep.
Marjorie. I thought you said Marjorie.
I did.
I was don't
tell her.
Have I been calling her name wrong all this time?
Just don't tell her.
That'd be my luck.
Please don't let her. Don't let her know.
Keep it secret. Don't let her know what
Marjorie Greene. Isn't she the fake eyelash caller?
I love you, Marjorie. I'm not gonna.
What are you talking
about? Marjorie Greene. Didn't she call some other congresswoman fake eyelashes? She couldn't see clearly.
Probably.
Yeah. No, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that on.
She's kind of funny.
Anyway.
She is funny.
She has a humorous
She is funny, but she So she's one of a handful, maybe more than a handful, that are standing up. But they can't even get things done in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Couldn't even elect a speaker.
Yeah. Well, you can't even impeach Biden.
You can't.
It's things that they've been trying to do. So I just wanted to throw that in there, that there are good people, and don't disparage 100% of them.
Yeah.
Maybe just 80 or 75.
The vast majority, wide swaths of people.
And there's no way to tell the difference.
But be praying for those folks, because it is June. And our culture is demanding that we celebrate sin, and we know we can't do that. Christianity has always been counterculture. People have always had to pay a high price for standing for the truth. And so just remember that when you do everything to stand.
I like
that. And God's with you no matter what.
Yeah, it's good to be reminded that there are lots of people that went before us that did pay a high price for some of those things. And so if you're willing to make that stand, even if it costs you, you are joining a good crowd of people. So stay strong. And I think all of our conversation here today leads us to the one conclusion that politicians, they are not going to save us, but guess what? God can. So hold fast and keep telling people about the truth of Jesus Christ. And we will see you back here next week. No Apology with Emilee and Chris.